In the heart of a bustling city where streets hummed with life and ambition, Sarah lived her life like countless others, navigating the daily grind with resilience and determination. She was a young woman in her late 20s, independent and fiercely proud of her routine. Each morning, she sipped her coffee at a small cafe, her favorite spot that provided a comforting view of the busy street. She envisioned her future beyond the confines of a mundane job, and her bright personality was a magnet for those around her. Before we begin, if these intense romances make you feel something, please subscribe. We're close to 1,000, and you truly matter. Now, let's begin. Little did she know, her life was about to take an unexpected turn. It started with a peculiar message that arrived on her phone one dull Tuesday afternoon. The words were cryptic, filled with ominous undertones that sent a shiver down her spine. "Stay away from what you don't understand," it read, and her heart raced. Who was this person? What did they want? As she stared at the screen, a sense of foreboding settled over her, weaving anxiety into the fabric of her routine. The message felt like a warning from a world she had no intention of entering, until now. Across town, Marco, the feared Mafia boss, was orchestrating his empire with an iron fist. Charismatic yet intimidating, he commanded respect and fear in equal measure. At 40, he was a man with a reputation that preceded him, a powerful figure who rarely showed vulnerability. Despite his cold demeanor in public, Marco was deeply complex, shaped by a traumatic past that haunted him silently. He was a man who had built walls around himself, but he longed for something more meaningful in the shadows of his life. Marco was no stranger to danger. It was a constant specter in his world. However, that day, something felt different. As he wandered through an extravagant gala hosted in his honor, he locked eyes with Sarah from across the room. She was not like the others draped in glamour and pretense. Her authenticity captivated him. In that moment, the bustling crowd around them faded into a blur. Curiosity piqued. He approached her, his imposing stature making her seem even smaller yet remarkably unyielding. "Are you enjoying the evening?" he questioned, his voice a blend of charm and authority. Sarah looked up, her heart pounding. She felt the weight of his gaze, an intensity that was both exhilarating and daunting. "Yes, though I can't say I expected to find myself in such an extravagant place," she replied, meeting his eyes with a defiance that surprised even herself. She wasn't one to bow down to intimidation, not even from a man like Marco. "Life has its surprises," he mused, tilting his head slightly as if appraising her spirit. "I typically don't associate with those outside my circle." "That's a shame," she shot back, her confidence growing. "Perhaps your circle could use a little light." A flicker of amusement danced in Marco's eyes, but it quickly dissipated, replaced by a more serious demeanor. "You should be cautious. The world I navigate is not as glamorous as it appears. It's filled with danger, and not everyone is friendly." "Danger doesn't scare me," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the tension that crackled in the air. "I'm not afraid to stand up for myself." Little did she realize that this encounter was the beginning of something monumental, something that would intertwine their fates in ways neither could foresee. As they spoke, the chemistry between them ignited, leaving them both slightly breathless. But the subtle undercurrent of threat loomed large, hinting at the storm that was brewing just outside their newfound connection. Moments later, Sarah's phone buzzed again, snapping her back to reality. She glanced at the screen, her heart dropping as she read the follow-up message. "You can't ignore this." "They're watching you." Panic surged through her veins, and she instinctively looked around the room, scanning for shadows lurking in the corners. "Something wrong?" Marco inquired, noting the shift in her demeanor. There was a protective instinct in his voice that surprised her, considering the nature of his world. "Just a message. It's nothing," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She wanted to dismiss it, to maintain the sense of control she had built around herself. But the truth lurked beneath the surface, threatening to unravel all she knew. "People don't just send messages for no reason," Marco said. His voice dropped to a whisper, filled with a seriousness that matched the gravity of the situation. "If you feel threatened, you should consider stepping away from any involvement with me." "Is that your way of intimidating me?" she challenged, crossing her arms defiantly. The tension thickened, and a spark of something unnameable hung in the air between them. It was a challenge, a test of wills that neither was willing to back down from. "That's not my intention," Marco replied, lowering his voice further. "But I can't protect you from the dangers that come with my world. It's complicated, and you deserve better than to be caught in the crossfire." As the evening wore on, Sarah felt the weight of his words pressing against her heart. She was drawn to him, but fear loomed just behind her like a shadow. The allure of the unknown tugged at her spirit, leaving her longing to understand the depths of his world, yet questioning if she truly wanted to step into it. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to subscribe for more captivating stories. As Sarah navigated her internal struggle, the night stretched before her like an uncharted path, promising twists and turns that would soon collide with her everyday life in ways she could never have imagined. Sarah stood amidst the glimmering lights of the gala, feeling like a fish out of water. The lavish decor and elegantly dressed guests were enough to make anyone feel small, but she was determined not to let that happen. As she navigated through the crowd, she held her head high, her independent spirit refusing to be overshadowed by the overwhelming opulence around her. She had always prided herself on her grounded nature, far removed from the superficiality that accompanied wealth. The atmosphere buzzed with laughter and idle chatter, but for Sarah, it was just another reminder of how out of place she felt. As she made her way to the refreshment table, her thoughts drifted back to the peculiar message she had received earlier that day. It had come from an unknown number, merely saying, "You can't ignore this." "They're watching you." The words had sent a shiver down her spine, igniting a sense of unease she couldn't shake off. A fleeting thought of leaving crossed her mind, but her stubbornness kept her rooted. She decided to enjoy the evening, if only to prove to herself that she could navigate this world. When Marco had approached her, his energy had shifted everything. Standing there, he exuded a dominating presence that was both magnetic and intimidating. His sharp features and confident demeanor screamed power, yet there was something else lurking beneath the surface. His eyes, a piercing shade of blue, held a depth that intrigued her. Sarah sensed a complex man behind that confident facade, and for a brief moment, she felt a thrill at the prospect of unraveling his layers. "Are you enjoying the evening?" he asked, his voice smooth and rich, like the finest whiskey. "Yes," she managed, finding courage in the conviction of her voice. "Though I can't say I expected to find myself in such an extravagant place." There was a challenge in her tone, a subtle rebuff to the assumptions he might have made about her. "Life has its surprises," he mused, tilting his head slightly, as if assessing her character. "I typically don't associate with those outside my circle." "Maybe your circle needs a little light," she shot back, surprising herself with the audacity of her response. The moment hung between them, charged with a tension that made the air crackle. Marco's lips curled into a faint smile, but it quickly faded, replaced by a more serious expression. "Caution is essential in my world," he said softly, his eyes narrowing slightly. "It's not as glamorous as it appears. It's filled with danger, and not everyone is friendly." "Danger doesn't scare me," Sarah replied, her heart racing but her voice steady. "I'm not afraid to stand up for myself." Marco's gaze faltered for a moment, and she could see something flicker in his eyes, a mix of respect and concern. This wasn't a typical conversation he had with guests. Usually, they were enamored and compliant, not daring to challenge him as she did. Little did she know that their paths would entwine in unforeseen ways, leading to a nexus of passion and peril. As their conversation continued, the undeniable chemistry between them intensified, leaving both of them breathless. But as the evening unfolded, Sarah's earlier anxiety crept back into her mind. She had almost forgotten about the ominous message until her phone buzzed violently against her thigh, jolting her back to reality. With a quick glance at the screen, her stomach lurched. It was another message. "You need to leave. They're closer than you think." "Something wrong?" Marco inquired, his brow furrowing. The concern in his voice was unexpected, especially considering his menacing reputation. "It's nothing," she replied, forcing a smile she didn't quite feel. But her heart raced. She couldn't shake the sense of danger creeping closer. People don't just send messages for no reason, he insisted, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. If you feel threatened, you should step away from any involvement with me. Is that your way of intimidating me? She countered, crossing her arms defiantly. The tension felt electric between them, a challenge neither was willing to back down from. That's not my intention, Marco replied, sincerity lacing his words. But I can't protect you from the dangers that come with my world. It's complicated, and you deserve better than to be caught in the crossfire. His words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of truth. Sarah felt torn. She was drawn to him, yet fear danced at the edges of her mind. The allure of the unknown beckoned her, but could she really step into this life without losing herself? As the evening wore on, the glimmering light seemed to dim around them, and the chatter of guests faded into a distant hum. The only thing that mattered was the conversation unfolding between them. Marco's intensity was palpable, and she sensed a hunger in him, an eagerness to connect that couldn't be ignored. If you are enjoying this story, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more captivating tales. Because just as Sarah is about to dive deeper into a world she barely understands, there are twists ahead that you won't want to miss. Lost in the moment, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and trepidation wash over her. The night was far from over, and the implications of their encounter were just beginning to unfold. She knew that whatever happened next could change the course of her life forever, and a part of her was terrified by the possibilities. Yet another part, a bolder part, was eager to see where this dangerous game would lead them both. As they continued to talk, an unspoken understanding blossomed, knitting their fates closer together within the luxurious chaos of the gala. The thrilling tension lingered, promising adventures yet untold, and challenges that would test their resolve. The air was thick with uncertainty, and in that charged moment, they both knew they were standing on the precipice of a whirlwind that would consume them. The tension between Sarah and Marco had reached a fever pitch, the air thick with anticipation as they stood close enough to feel each other's warmth. Marco, the Mafia boss, held an aura of secrecy and power, a magnetic pull that was both enticing and terrifying. It was apparent to Sarah that he was someone who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. Yet she found herself drawn to him, intrigued by the complexity behind his intimidating facade. With a deep breath, she decided to push back against the overwhelming presence that Marco exuded. You may be powerful, Marco, but power doesn't dictate every encounter. Her voice was steady, an embodiment of her resolve. I'm not just another pawn in your game. Marco's expression shifted, surprise flaring in his dark eyes. His lips parted slightly as if considering his next move in this unexpected duel of wills. You think you know what you're facing? My world isn't as simple as it seems. There are rules, and I'm not sure you're ready to play by them. Maybe it's time someone challenged those rules, Sarah replied defiantly, feeling emboldened by the moment. It was a risky assertion, yet the challenge ignited something in her, a spark of empowerment. With each exchange, she felt herself stepping further away from her mundane life into a realm that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. As the gala continued around them, a flurry of laughter and clinking glasses enveloped them, but Sarah and Marco seemed to exist in their own bubble. Their conversation held an electric charge, each word laced with unspoken promises and hidden fears. Away from the chatter, Marco leaned in slightly, his presence looming yet magnetic. Tell me why you're really here tonight, he asked, his voice low and husky. It was an invitation, but also a challenge, as if he was daring her to reveal more than she was willing to share. Trying to maintain her composure, Sarah hesitated for a mere second. Maybe I wanted to see what the infamous Marco was really like. Her reply was a blend of curiosity and defiance, a small act of bravery in the face of danger. The boldness of her response sparked a flicker of admiration in Marco. He was accustomed to people praising him or cowering in fear, but she stood before him, unyielding. Curiosity can be a dangerous trait, he cautioned, though the corners of his mouth tilted up in a barely there smile. You might not like the answers you find. Or maybe I'll find something that makes it all worthwhile, Sarah shot back, her heart racing. The tension between them thickened, and a moment of silence followed, filled only with the heavy thrum of shared energy. Neither of them dared to look away, the unspoken bond drawing them closer together, like moths to a flame. As they held each other's gaze, the ambience around them faded away, leaving just the two of them suspended in a moment that felt both significant and fleeting. But then her phone buzzed again, breaking the spell. Sarah glanced down, her stomach dropping as she read the message that felt like a punch to her gut. "You need to leave. They're closer than you think." Panic shot through her. I need to go," she stammered, the fear creeping back into her veins like icy tendrils. She had almost forgotten about the ominous warning, and reality rushed back in with a vengeance. "Hey, what's wrong?" Marco could sense the shift in her body language, the way she pulled away slightly, as if preparing to flee. "You can't just walk away without telling me what's happening." "Nothing I can't handle," she replied, attempting to sound brave, but the quiver in her voice betrayed her. Her instincts screamed at her to leave, but something held her back. Something about Marco's presence made her want to confide in him, to trust him, perhaps against her better judgment. "It's not just nothing," Marco pressed, his expression hardening. "You're on the verge of stepping into something that could consume you." "I need you to be honest with me." "I have my reasons," she shot back, her frustration boiling over. "I didn't sign up for this. I was just curious about you, but I didn't anticipate being drawn into your world." The words escaped her before she could think them through, but they hung in the air between them, raw and real. Marco took a step closer, and the protective instinct within him flared. "You think I enjoy this life? You think I want to drag anyone into this chaos? I've seen things, done things that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. But here you are, standing before me, challenging me, and it's refreshing. I want you to be safe." The sincerity in his voice struck her deeply. This was a man hardened by life's trials, yet there was a flicker of vulnerability beneath his stern exterior when he spoke of protecting her. For a fleeting moment, she saw a glimpse of the man behind the Mafia boss, a man who bore scars that ran deeper than any physical mark. "If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give us a thumbs up." Each click supports the channel and keeps the tales coming. With a brief pause, Sarah gathered her thoughts, wrestling with her emotions. She was both terrified and exhilarated by what lay ahead, caught in the web of her attraction to Marco and the very real dangers surrounding her. As she looked deeply into his eyes, she felt that all-consuming fear coexist with an unexpected thrill. She had just met him, yet every part of her screamed that this was only the beginning of a much larger story, one that would test her limits, challenge her perceptions, and ultimately change her life forever. The world outside faded, leaving only the two of them grappling with the intense duality of attraction and fear, each moment stretching out like an eternity as the weight of their realities pressed down upon them. As the atmosphere thickened with unspoken tension, Sarah found herself ensnared between the weight of her emotions and the undeniable danger lurking in the shadows. The air crackled around them, a silent witness to the emotional tempest brewing in her mind. Thoughts raced through her head, each vying for attention and pulling her in different directions. She felt the allure of Marco, the magnetic power he exerted, but also the darkness that surrounded him. Suddenly, a distant sound broke through her reverie, a reminder that the world outside was still alive with potential threats. Sarah's heart raced as she remembered the ominous message on her phone. The urgency of the situation pulled at her, making her pulse quicken. "I can't be a part of this," she thought, struggling to calm the storm within her. "Sarah!" Marco's voice was low and steady, cutting through the chaos in her mind. "Tell me what's happening." "You're not safe here, and I'm not going to let you walk away without knowing the truth." His words hung in the air, heavy with concern. The intensity of his gaze held her captive, making it nearly impossible for her to think clearly. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the gravity of her situation crashed down on her. How can he care? She wondered. Marco was a man forged in the fires of the underworld, yet here he was, exhibiting a rare softness just for her. Swallowing hard, she finally managed to articulate her fears. "I received a message. It warned me to leave, a threat, I think." Her voice trembled slightly, revealing just how shaken she was. Marco's expression shifted, a flash of anger flickering across his features. "You let them find you. You're more valuable than you know, Sarah. If they're coming for you, it's serious. Maybe I'm just an ordinary woman not worth your trouble. she shot back, the defiance in her tone belying the fear churning in her stomach. She didn't want to seem weak, but the truth lingered just beneath her bravado. Ordinary. "You're anything but," Marco replied, stepping closer, his body language radiating confidence and strength. "You've sparked something in me that I didn't think I could feel again, and it's not just curiosity, it's more than that." "Then why did you bring me into this?" she asked, her heart pounding. "Why me?" "Because you challenged me." He spoke with conviction, the truth of his words evident in his eyes. "I'm tired of the games, tired of the lies that surround my life. You're refreshing, and I want to protect that." Just as his words began to settle in her mind, a noise startled them both. The faint shuffle of footsteps echoed nearby, sending a shiver down her spine. Marco's demeanor shifted instantly, every muscle in his body tensing as he scanned the area for signs of a threat. "Stay close," he ordered, his voice commanding yet protective. The shift from vulnerability to authority was almost palpable, and Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. She had never been in a situation like this before, where danger loomed so closely, yet here she was, feeling an unexpected thrill at being next to him. As they moved cautiously towards a hidden corner of the lavish venue, Sarah noticed the way Marco's body was positioned protectively in front of her. The primal instinct to shield her conjured a sense of safety amidst the chaos. "He's different," she thought, feeling the warmth radiate from his proximity. "Do you have anywhere safe to go?" he asked, keeping his voice low, glancing over his shoulder every few seconds. "I need to know you can get away from this." "I can handle myself," she insisted, though doubt flickered like a candle in her mind. But was she truly prepared for whatever lay ahead? Could she really navigate this treacherous landscape? Handling yourself isn't enough when they are involved. "I need you to trust me," Marco urged, the sincerity in his tone cutting through the anxiety that had settled over her like a fog. The way he spoke seemed to resonate with something deep within her. "I have no reason to trust you," she replied, though even she could hear the uncertainty in her voice. "Then let me earn it," Marco replied, his gaze steady and unyielding. "You need to understand that I'm willing to put myself on the line for you, even if it means risking everything I've built. You're worth it." In that moment, Sarah's defenses began to crumble. With each word, her resolve weakened. The layers of her fear and trepidation fluctuated, unveiling a vulnerability she had long buried. Could she allow herself to trust him? The implications were daunting, and yet the desire to step closer into his world tugged at her heart. Before she could respond, the footsteps drew nearer, echoing like a metronome of impending doom. Panic surged within her. "We have to move," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. "You'll follow my lead," Marco instructed, his tone brokering no argument. "When I say run, you run." "Where?" she asked, feeling a swell of uncertainty. "What if we run into more of them? Then we'll figure it out together." His resolve was intoxicating, and for a fleeting moment, Sarah could see a future where they both emerged unscathed. "Just stay close to me." Their hearts raced in tandem as they slipped further into the shadows, a silent bond forming between them in the face of danger. The confines of the luxury event faded away, becoming just another backdrop for their ever-evolving narrative. If you're enjoying this story, give us a thumbs up. Your support means the world to us and keeps the stories flowing. Together, they stepped into the uncertainty, each heartbeat echoing the promise of what might come next, caught between the thrill of danger and the burgeoning connection that threatened to change everything. The air was thick with tension, each moment stretching into infinity as Marco braced for the confrontation. His protective instincts surged, fueled by the fierce need to defend Sarah from any imminent threat. The world around them faded, leaving only the storm of emotions swirling in the space between them. He could feel the unmistakable energy crackling in the atmosphere, charged with urgency and adrenaline. The external threat loomed large, but in that moment, the only thing that mattered was keeping her safe. As they moved deeper into the shadows, Marco's heart raced not just with the fear of danger, but with an overwhelming sense of purpose. Sarah was not just another woman in his life. She was a catalyst for change, a breath of fresh air amidst the suffocating darkness that surrounded him. He felt a connection to her that he hadn't experienced in years, and it terrified him. "Stay close to me," he whispered, his voice low and steady, yet it held an undercurrent of urgency. I'm right behind you, Sarah replied, her voice quivering slightly. She was acutely aware of the gravity of their situation, yet there was an undeniable thrill coursing through her veins. The danger was real, but so was the pull she felt towards Marco. She could sense the strength radiating from him, and it both comforted and exhilarated her. They maneuvered through the dimly lit corridor, ducking behind a large decorative column as footsteps grew louder. With each passing moment, Sarah could feel her heart thumping in her chest, a rhythm that matched the tension in the air. Marco's presence was magnetic, but it also ignited a flicker of fear within her, fear of the unknown, of what their lives could become in this dangerous new world. I never expected to be thrust into something like this, she admitted, her breath hitching slightly as they paused to listen. I thought my biggest worry today would be my presentation at work. Marco turned to her, his expression softening for just a split second. And yet here we are, facing something much bigger than either of us anticipated. His gaze was intense, filled with a mix of admiration and concern. I wish you hadn't gotten dragged into this, but I can't ignore the connection I feel with you. Just as he spoke, the footsteps grew ominously close, echoing like drumbeats in the silence. Marco's eyes narrowed, every instinct screaming at him to protect her. We need to move now, he ordered, each word firm and decisive, as if trying to assert control over a situation that felt increasingly chaotic. Where do we go? Sarah asked, panic creeping back into her voice. What if we run right into them? Then we'll deal with it together, Marco replied, determination lacing his tone. Just trust me. The way he looked at her, filled with sincerity and the weight of his past, made her heart flutter despite the circumstances. I don't know if I can trust you completely yet, she confessed, her vulnerability surfacing. How can I be sure you're not just playing me? Because I'm not like the others, he insisted, his voice low and honest. I don't want to play games with you, Sarah. I want to protect you. You're different. The sincerity of his words hung in the air, filling the space between them with a promise. In that moment, Sarah saw more than just a mafia boss. She saw a man whose walls were built from pain and loss, whose heart was hidden beneath layers of bravado and secrecy. I want to believe you, she whispered, her resolve starting to waver. Then let me show you, Marco urged, stepping closer, his breath warm against her skin. However, their moment was abruptly interrupted by the sound of angry voices approaching. It was too late for hesitation. Without thinking, Marco grabbed her hand, and they darted down a narrow passage, the adrenaline surging through their veins. As they ran, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the danger wasn't just external, it was deeply woven into the fabric of their connection. The thrill of the chase heightened her senses, awakening something within her that she never knew existed. Here she was, running for her life with a man who was both a protector and a mystery, and it felt exhilarating. Keep going, Marco urged, his voice slicing through the chaos as they turned a corner, stumbling into a small, dimly lit alcove. They pressed against the wall, trying to catch their breath, the pounding of their hearts echoing in the confined space. Do you think they saw us? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, Marco replied, his expression taut with focus. But we can't stay here for long. We need to find a way out. I'll distract them and you have to run. No, she protested, panic rising in her throat. I can't let you do that alone. I won't leave you. Trust me. It's the best option right now. He placed his hands on her shoulders, his grip firm yet gentle. You have to promise me you'll get to safety, no matter what. Before she could respond, the footsteps grew louder, and Marco's gaze hardened. Stay here and don't make a sound, he instructed, his voice a low growl as he moved stealthily towards the exit. As he slipped away, Sarah felt a rush of fear, uncertainty gnawing at her. What if he didn't come back? What if this was the last moment she ever saw him? But deep down, she understood he was doing this for her, and that realization ignited a flicker of determination in her heart. She would not just be a pawn in this game. Share your thoughts in the comments below and hit the notification bell. Your support motivates us to keep creating these captivating stories. In the echoes of the chaos, Sarah made a silent promise to herself, to trust in Marco, to uncover the truth behind the man who had captivated her so completely. Whatever happened next would define everything they had begun to build together, and she was ready to face it head-on, fueled by the courage blooming in her heart amidst the fear. As the days turned into a whirlwind of emotions and events, Sarah found herself navigating the complexities of her new relationship with Marco. After the close encounter they had experienced, there was an undeniable shift in the air between them. Their worlds had collided in a way that neither of them had anticipated, and now they were faced with the repercussions of that meeting. In the aftermath of their narrow escape, Sarah felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursing through her veins. She was still processing the reality of Marco's life, the dangerous undercurrents that ran beneath his polished exterior. The Mafia world was not just a backdrop, it was a constant presence, shaping every decision, every move. Yet there was something about their connection that felt like a lifeline, a thread pulling her deeper into a world she had never sought to be part of, but was now irrevocably tied to. One evening, as they sat together in a secluded corner of a lavish rooftop lounge overlooking the sparkling city lights, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty that accompanied her growing feelings for Marco. She watched him as he looked out over the skyline, his expression a mix of contemplation and intensity. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, her voice soft yet probing. Marco turned his gaze towards her, and for a moment the world around them faded into the background. "I'm thinking about how quickly everything has changed," he admitted, his voice low and steady. "A week ago, I was just another boss in this city, and now—" His words trailed off as he searched for the right way to express the chaos that had enveloped his life since meeting her. "That's what scares me," Sarah said, the vulnerability in her tone evident. "I don't know what's real anymore." "You have this world that's so unfamiliar to me." "Unfamiliar doesn't have to mean dangerous," Marco interrupted, leaning closer, his eyes locking onto hers. "Sarah, I don't want you to feel afraid. You need to know that I would do anything to keep you safe." The depth of his commitment sent a shiver down her spine, yet she remained cautious. "But what does that mean for us?" "I don't want to be someone's prize or a pawn in a game I don't understand." Marco's brow furrowed as he considered her words. "I know you're not looking for this life," he replied, his voice thick with sincerity. "But I also know there's something between us that transcends the chaos. I can't explain it, and I don't want to pressure you into anything you're not ready for." The tension between them crackled with unspoken feelings, and Sarah felt a rush of emotions that she struggled to contain. "Maybe I'm more ready than I think," she said, surprise touching her own voice. "But I still need you to trust me too." "Trust goes both ways," he noted, his expression earnest. "What I've been through, it changed me. I can't just forget everything I've done to get here, and I know that might scare you away." "It does scare me," she admitted, the honesty in her voice a breath of fresh air between them. "But it also makes me want to understand you more. I want to know all of it, the past, the present, and the future you envision." He studied her for a moment, and she could feel the weight of his guarded heart in the space between them. "You're braver than you know, Sarah," he said finally, a hint of admiration lacing his words. "But I need you to be careful. This world can be unforgiving." Just then, a familiar tension seeped into the air as Marco's phone buzzed on the table, breaking their intimate moment. He glanced down, his expression shifting into one of concern. "It's my brother," he muttered, frowning. "Is everything okay?" Sarah asked, her stomach knotting at the sight of him suddenly tense. "I don't know yet," he replied, swiping his finger across the screen. He read the message and his jaw tightened. "We might have more trouble than we thought. They're moving faster than we anticipated." "What do you mean?" Sarah pressed, her heart racing. "Should we leave?" Marco looked at her, his eyes fierce yet soft, a storm of emotions swirling behind them. "No, you stay here. I have to handle this." "It's too dangerous for you to be involved." "Marco, I can't just sit here and do nothing," she protested, the fear rising within her again. "I'm already part of this whether I like it or not." He opened his mouth to argue, but then he paused, searching her face for something. "You're right," he finally conceded. "You deserve to know the truth, and I can't keep you in the dark. But promise me you'll stay close." "I promise," she said, steeling herself for whatever was to come. As Marco rose from their table, Sarah felt the adrenaline coursing through her, igniting her senses. She wasn't just a bystander anymore. She was a participant in this chaotic dance. "Marco," she called, stopping him mid-stride. "Whatever happens, I'm with you. Just know that." The look he gave her was one of fierce gratitude mixed with an underlying fear that she would be caught in the crossfire. "Then we face this together," he replied, determination, steadiness in his voice. As they prepared to confront the uncertainty ahead, Sarah's heart raced with a mix of fear and excitement. She was no longer just a woman swept into a mafia world. She was a partner in a battle that could change everything. Share your thoughts in the comments below and hit the notification bell. Your engagement inspires us to bring you more riveting tales like this one. With that, they stepped into the unknown, their fates intertwined, ready to face whatever storm lay ahead together. As the aftermath of the tension settled, Sarah and Marco found themselves in a quiet moment, reflecting on the gravity of the decisions they faced. Outside, the city buzzed with life, but inside the room, it felt as if time stood still. Marco sat on the edge of the table, his hands gripping the edge, his expression a mixture of concern and determination. "We're in this together now, Sarah." "There's no turning back," he said, his voice low but steady. Sarah nodded, her heart racing. She was acutely aware of the stakes involved in their new reality. "I understand," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. "I know this world is dangerous, but I can't be kept in the dark." "Not anymore." Marco looked at her with a newfound respect, as if this declaration had shifted something between them. "You're braver than you know," he said, a hint of admiration in his tone. "Most people would run at the first sign of trouble." "I'm not most people," Sarah challenged back, her lips curving into a slight smile, trying to ease the tension. "But that doesn't mean I'm not scared. I just want to know what I'm getting into." "Then let me show you," Marco replied, standing up to face her fully. The intensity in his eyes was startling, yet there was a softness that belied his tough exterior. "But you must promise to be careful. I can't protect you if you don't let me." As they stood together, the air crackled with unspoken emotions, the kind that held the promise of something deeper but also the weight of impending danger. "Promise," Sarah finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But you have to promise me something in return. Be honest. No more hiding." "Deal," Marco agreed, sealing their pact with a firm nod. "But you should know that honesty in my world can be brutal." Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "I can handle it. Just be ready to answer my questions." He smiled, a flicker of warmth spreading through his expression. The connection between them felt palpable as he took a step closer. "All right, let's start with what you want to know first. Tell me about your family," she said, remembering the glimpses of his past he had shared before. "I know they are important to you, but why?" Marco's smile faded, replaced by a shadow of sadness. "My family is complicated. My father was a powerful man in this world, but his legacy came with blood on his hands. I lost my mother when I was young, and growing up under my father's shadow shaped me in ways I'm still trying to understand." Sarah's heart ached for him. "I can see how that would be difficult, and the responsibilities you have now, it must weigh heavily on you." "It does," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "But I will do whatever it takes to protect those I care about. That's where you come in, Sarah. You've become more important to me than I expected." A rush of warmth spread through her at his words. "I never wanted to be a burden to you," she confessed. "But if I'm going to be in your life, then I want to understand everything that comes with it." Marco's gaze softened, and he reached out, brushing his fingers against hers. "You're not a burden, you're a partner. And I want to protect you, not just from the dangers of my world, but from anything that could hurt you." Just then, a loud crash echoed from outside, interrupting their moment. The sound sent Sarah's heart racing. "What was that?" she exclaimed, stepping back, instinctively looking toward the door. Marco's expression hardened. "Stay here," he commanded, his voice taking on an authoritative tone that sent chills down her spine. "No, I'm not staying here while you go out there alone," she argued, feeling the adrenaline pump through her veins. "If something is wrong, I need to be with you." "Sarah," he said firmly, "it's too dangerous. You don't understand what I'm dealing with." "Then help me understand," she insisted, the fire in her voice surprising even herself. You can't just push me away like I'm some damsel in distress. I want to be part of this. I want to help. Marco's eyes widened slightly at her outburst, and for a moment he seemed taken aback by her fierce determination. You really mean that? He asked, his voice softer now. Yes, I do, she replied, her heart pounding in her chest. I want to be there for you just like you want to protect me. You can't fight this alone. A silence fell between them, heavy with the weight of their shared commitment. Marco stared at her for a long moment, as if weighing the implications of her words. Finally, he nodded slowly, his expression resolute. All right, but you need to be prepared. This isn't a fairy tale. There are real risks. I'm ready, she declared, her resolve unshakable. Let's face whatever is out there together. As they stepped out into the uncertain night, the rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins was intoxicating. The world outside felt alive, buzzing with anticipation. Stay close to me and don't let your guard down, Marco instructed, his voice low and serious. I won't, she promised, her heart racing not just from fear, but from the thrill of standing by his side. Together they ventured into the shadows, united by a bond forged through chaos and uncertainty. As they approached the source of the noise, Sarah's breath quickened and she stole a glance at Marco. They were in this together. No turning back now. If you're enjoying this thrilling journey into the depths of their world, don't forget to subscribe for more captivating stories. Your support keeps the adventures coming and allows us to share these intense moments with you. With every step they took, they were ready to confront whatever challenges awaited them, standing side by side, two forces intertwined against the darkness. The night was filled with possibilities, each moment an invitation to uncover the truth behind the shadows.